Leia, do you want to? Great.
I have a question. When it goes from like for a classical singer going into musical theater, like what's the biggest recommendation? I know it's really broad. Like for me, I'm a classical master's student classical opera singer, but trained in musical theater before. But now it's like, what is belting? I only sing in my head voice. Like I can do a pretty good mix, but
well, you probably can do a head mix, is what you're saying, right?
Yeah.
Well, the first good news is that you're speaking in a chest voice.
Right. It's true.
There you go. You can belt.
It stops.
Right. I think it's just like knowing you need to be talking in a chest voice. The troublesome part would be if you were talking to me like this, then I'd be worried that you can't belt. But those people, I would say need more speech therapy. You're already I'm talking like this, so you just have to do any call.
Oh, okay.
You could be like, I hate olives. I mean, I only did hays and oh-no's, but I really have done anything. What'd you eat for breakfast? Eggs!
Yeah. Okay, good.
That's the starting place.
Okay, good.
But I also just make up exercises.
Yeah.
Whatever kind of inspires you not to sing, do singer voice.
Yeah. Okay.
Because they're all connected.
Cool. Thank you.
When it comes to music quality for scoops and vibrato, how do you choose?
Good question. That is a good question. I think the answer is there's no right answer, but if I gave you 3 choices, you'd be like, ooh, that was probably the best one. I think it's instinct, style, choice in the moment. There's sometimes where it's oh, I like either one, but this one's better. Is that me? So I would say that, and I also would run things by people and be which one do you like better? Because there really is no right answer. But I think if I were to coach, think of the Poppy song, not Lose Control, The Trouble with Love, let's say. The trouble with, what did you sing? What part? I'm trying to think of a hook that was very poppy we did. My Mind. My mind. It wouldn't make sense if I did my mind. You would know. It wouldn't be that's no scoop and vibrato, right? You'd know that that's kind of not right. So then you'd play around with them and be oh, that makes sense, It's also just really making up sounds and being voice memoing and be oh, I kind of like that.
How do you bridge, once you get the call,
yeah.
then how do you stay in that placement when you're moving,
when you come back?
Middle range stuff?
Well, it really, in terms of contemporary belting and high belting, you just have to be in a speech mix the whole time. Because there's 2 mixes. So there's a head dominant mix, which is nice for I don't know, the Light in the Piazza or something. It's kind of lighter, but even the Finding Neverland song, All That Matters, you could sing it in both mixes. But Mean Girls, you need to sing in a speech mix because you need to be but really it's just about making it all one voice and connect, and practice and slides.
Ts your favorite, in addition to slides, any other good connecting warm-ups that you suggest?
Lip trills, 2-octave lip trills, and making sure that you start in chest. So you're not you're not cheating it. And there's gonna be a lot of cracks. But then I cracked all the way through college. So it was a lot of cracking before I figured out what was going on. Did you have a question?
Yeah. So I recently started a few years back, 3 to 4 years back, I started singing. Probably is a basic question. So when I practice exercises for belting, I'm able to do the high note belting. But when I sing the song, when I reach that note, I probably switching to head voice. For example, Billie Jean song, Michael Jackson, of anything. So what do you suggest?
I mean, I think a lot of it is muscle memory. So sometimes it's hard if you're I'm doing the exercise and then just applying it to the song. At first you might be going into muscle memory, but if you can train your brain to not, and there's also you don't want to be yelling incorrectly. So train your brain to be I need to be speaking this now. So you don't go into old habits.
Okay, thank you.
Do you like my posture? It's really good. No, yeah.
Okay, I feel like I am pretty good at descending riffs, but ascending riffs are so hard for me, and
ask her for help.
Do you have any tips?
My main tip, because it is harder, is I think like, not like I'm pumping, but like if I were to go like, like I need to engage my muscles a little more than just, like I need to like, I sort of think of like a pumping sensation without like forcing it. But they are harder. You, headband.
Do you have any tips?
Are you guys twins? Sisters? Not related.
No, not really. Just friends.
With me, okay.
Do you have any tips for like singing outside of your normal vocal range? Because I'm like an alto with like a little bit of like second soprano mix, but like I'm auditioning for like a role that has like a higher belt.
So the answer is there's no vocal ranges. You sing everything. You only have vocal ranges when you sing in choir.
It's choir queen? Yes, okay.
Choir queen. Are you a choir queen?
Yes.
So basically, like, in musical theater, you sing everything. Like, I sang soprano too in choir, but I love singing tenor and in bass. I prefer singing lower, but I also have to high belt, right? So it's just like expanding, singing in every part of your range, and it's not limiting. Because I feel like when people say they're altos, they're like, I can't sing high, because that's what they sang in choir, right? But you do everything.
Yeah, what's some good advice? I might word this the wrong way. I guess having to do with placement of the tongue to avoid tension. Because I guess I'm a tenor, but I'm very nasally and forward. And I guess how do I avoid leaking too much air and falling off at the end?
That is a very specific question.
Yeah.
Do you want a coaching in the corner? I'm just kidding. I mean, he's your teacher, right?
Yes.
I think you should ask him.
Yeah.
I don't mean to dismiss your
Yeah,
question. It's just
fair
so
enough.
hard. I haven't heard you sing.
Yeah.
My general thing would be like front of your tongue on the inside of your bottom teeth. Mostly always. I'm never like pulling my tongue back. The back of your tongue, we did this, like the back of your tongue will raise on certain vowels, like E. But just making sure you're not like spreading and pulling your tongue back mostly. And I'm not like performing thinking about my tongue. However, there are some notes that I'm like, okay, like I had to, no joke, I had to coach myself through. I started freaking out like I can't sing Carol King like 2 weeks ago. I was like, I don't know how to sing a C, but I can sing an F somehow. So I'm singing One Fine Day at the end, and it's, you're gonna want me for your girl. I was like, oh God, I don't know how to sing this. And I was like, okay, I can do this. Go, no. And I just did the go, no. And I was like, go. And then I did the Earl at the end. So then I was thinking about my tongue. You can all coach yourselves too.
How can I do my ribs without always relying on my jaw?
Your jaw. I think mirror will help, and just like, not like you have to hold it, but like, this does not make the sound. Like if I'm changing like, it moved, right? Sort of it is like, I mean, some of it, if vowels change, it's natural that it would, but it's not to make the sound. I think just like becoming aware of it and like watching yourself.
How much do you think is like, what's the difference, or how do I word this? Like natural talent versus practice and repetition? Like how much is like, what's the weight between each? Do you think it's
Good question.
like,
That's a hard question. I would say you can have all the classical training in the world and be like, I'm a classical singer, I have 2 master's degrees. I would hope there's some natural talent, like you didn't just, go through 2 masters and there's no talent. But I think there are people that have no idea what they're doing and they're fucking amazing. And I'm like, they just woke up singing that amazing, and I'm like, oh. And then they can be like, finesse, but they're born with that. So I think, I don't know the exact ratio, but I think there has to be some innate ability. Yeah. That's you.
You said some things that kind of made me curious about, do you call your technique something?
No, actually, I call it healthy singing. No, because I didn't study a still. I didn't study Seth Riggs, or my voice teacher Mary Saunders Barton is canto, canbelto. So I studied like healthy singing, but basically it's just like taking different tips from different teachers and being like, oh, that's healthy. And then the pop stuff is very made up. It's kind of like imitating and then being like, oh, try this. But the whole like connecting the voice and everything is like a lot of trial and error and a lot of the kind of experimenting. And learning a lot when I teach, like over the past however many years.
I just have a question. I don't know how you teach like your private lessons, but do you play while your student sings? So like how do you differentiate like supporting them but also listening? Like I find that the hardest is like accompanying and then still listening to what they're doing.
I'm a very good multitasker. I can like seriously edit 14 videos and be like, what'd you say? Like I can be memorizing lines at the poker table and be like, check, call. Like I can do that. No, it is an interesting question. I'm accompanying and then I'm also glancing and watching, and then we're doing a lot of a cappella stuff and I'm accompanying. But I think if I'm in accompaniment mode, it's fine, but if I'm like really listening, like I actually have to be aware of everything. Yeah. Yeah.
What advice would you give people with a higher lighter voice and want to sing more grit or pop style?
Higher, lighter voice.
Mm-hmm.
Like Kristen Chenoweth. This? What I just said before. All the calls. Make up something you hate and speak it. I hate belting. You could be like, I want to sing high. That's how you do it. I mean, I'm half kidding, but really it's just like getting your natural speaking voice to translate into singing. Like, she used to be mine. Right, so like, obviously she's not going to be like, but she low, no, and like sound like that. And then eventually it would be like, Lord, and then you'd add the tone to that. But it starts in like steps. Kind of. If that makes sense. Yeah.
Do you have any tips for building better vibrato?
That I am not equipped in doing. I think a lot of it is breath support, natural ability, but get with a teacher you trust, because I've never actually taken somebody from no vibrato to vibrato. I do this thing sometimes that works, where like on a landing note, I tell them to do this. So it's like a mental spin, but it's a journey. Yeah.
What's one of your proudest accomplishments?
Okay. Honestly, my two proudest accomplishments are the things I got paid almost nothing for. And they have a very similar theme, which means I really like producing events. My favorite, so the top two would be that my teacher, Mary. I basically like music directed, cast, lighting designed, did the set did every position possible for her retirement party, and then just like delegated and bossed everyone around, and it was like the best night of my life. So that's one. And then I just did 2 concerts I did this year was a student showcase. I did my first one where I had like people from like my Zoom students in person, and I produced a student showcase. It was 2 shows, it was 40 singers. We helped pick the set list, but like the set order, I had the band, I organized everything, and it was like very fulfilling. And then I did a duets concert that I had a contest for to sing with me in December, and I had so many submissions that I decided to do I only wanted one singer, and I decided that I had so many good singers, I would just do an all duet show. So then I had like 17 singers and like very specific song choices for each person, and we rehearsed on Zoom and in person, and then, you know, their whole family showed up, and it was just like very fulfilling. So none of them are Broadway or major cast recording, but Greatest Showman is up there with being in that room, the room where it happened. But those are my top 2, I would say. Normally has to do with when I'm in charge. So I think I need to be like a general manager or something. I get the type A, what you were saying, yeah. Yeah.
What's your best tip? I'm classically trained too, and people weren't singing like this back in the day when I was studying, but what's your best tip on taking vibrato to the musical theater style?
Well, wait, taking vibrato from class.
Well, like, just like, I feel like I'm so vibrato.
So vibrato-y?
Like, how do you transition to that?
I would say, like, there, like I said, there is vibrato in musical theater. There's a time and a place, but you have to tell your brain, and now I am holding the air, now I am releasing it. Like, if I'm in a music rehearsal, like in the professional world of like, let's say recording, let's say I'm doing The Greatest Showman and they're like, okay, this one's gonna be grace note, straight tone, this one's gonna be like, you have to know right away if I'm doing vibrato or not. So part of it is like, I'm going to tell my brain to straight tone. And some of it is like, even just practicing like a fall on the note would be like, I'm not vibrating, and then sustaining it in, you know, and then eventually like releasing the sound after. I don't know if that helps.
Thank you for being here.
Thanks. Yeah.
I don't know if I'm gonna use the right words for this, but when I'm listening to riffs, it sounds like there are different articulations. So like there's a smooth kind of scale movement, but there's also like a stair-steppy sound.
Ooh. Who's the stair-steppy drawer? You? Stair-steppy.
Do you know what I mean? Where it feels almost like there's like a glottal in between, but it's so fast, but you can really hear those like
Do you mean like
placements.
Chromatic? Like that?
But not so much like the movement of the notes, but the actual like vocal articulation. Like you have that as opposed to it just being like kind of a smoother connect.
I think it's just the difference between like slurring and not. No, I can't do it now. It's not like glottling, but it is like crisp leaves. I don't know if that makes sense. Like hitting. Yeah, I know what you're saying about the staircase, but I don't think it's. I think you're hearing slurry versus very clean.
Yeah, but for people who don't have that like really clear placement of the individual notes, would you like? How would you work with that?
I would say starting with threes, like and then or I'm making up notes, but like 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 2, 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 3, 2, 1. I would just go and add numbers until you're at like 9, and it really is the same with like ooh. It's the same as scaling. Is that articulation the same? Like what you just heard me do?
Yeah.
It's the same as a riff.
And I guess like your voice is naturally already like placing everything so clearly.
Yeah, I would say some voices are like thicker, and so they're like ooh, like if you're Tori Kelly, you're Avery Wilson, you're Smokey Norfolk, I'm just naming very fast riffers, like they were like, their agility is insane. I definitely think I naturally had fast agility by imitating, but then I like finessed it, but then there are people that like can work on it, and then I had a friend in school who like could not scale fast. So like it would be like, ooh, it was just labored. So I think I don't want to say like there's a limit, but some people's are just like a little more weighted and thicker, and like taking out vibrato and making sure that you're like visualizing every note helps.
Yeah.
Without science terms, that's what my answer is.
Yeah, that's totally fine.